there, client, and welcome to another analysis of the Dragon Age Inquisition party members. We've already covered Cassandra, Solus, and Sarah. Who are we going to be covering today? Everyone's favourite Tervinter Altus. We're going to cover Dorian today. Actually, we're going to do Dorian in more ways than one. Let's dive into this, shall we? And talk about a lovely Tervinter mage. Okay, so firstly, of course, I will tell you who Dorian is. I shouldn't tell you who Dorian is. So, of course, I will give my impressions of Dorian before, of course, we actually saw him. Now, in all honesty, we didn't know much about Dorian beyond the fact that he is a Tervinter, someone from Tervinter, which is a region in Thedas that we really haven't actually explored that much. Most of what we know of Tervinter is that they are a heavily magically dominated society, magisters being the most prominent, powerful mages and all. But it's always a fascinating interest in Tervinter. We haven't really had an insight into Tervinter from an actual person. The only Tervinters we've actually interacted with have proven to be homicidal maniacs, crazy, who want power and want to rule the world. Oh, and slavers as well. But we've never actually seen it from someone's perspective, like an everyman of the Tervinter Imperium. We've never really seen that much, beyond, of course, Fenris, who gave us a very bleak and dark side of Tervinter. He showed us what they are willing to do for power. And that's where Dorian comes in. Dorian is the first official party member who was, well, not really, we had Fenris, but someone who was raised in Tervinter in the high society of Tervinter. Fenris was a slave, after all. What was, not anymore. Now, when it comes to Dorian, my first impressions of him when we first meet him in Redcliffe is he's very cocky. He's also very humor orientated. He's very much he very much has something similar to Zevran, is that he is very flamboyant in a way. He does things with humor, and he explains to us what the situation is. He does talk to us and acts all flabbergasted a little bit and all that. He's also very charismatic. That was my first impressions of him. And I could tell already, I was like, I'm going to like you, aren't I? And I like the fact, I liked his introduction. It was very much, he's just basically kicking some demon ass. He's like, oh, right, oh, you, close rift, now, go. I like Dorian. I liked him from the start. And what I liked more about him is that we got a perspective of Tervinter that we've never had. Someone who was raised in the higher society of Tervinter. Dorian isn't a Tervinter Magister. He's a Tervinter Altus, which I think is just below Magister. But he was training to be a Magister, which is very interesting to see that. He's a very powerful mage, and I do like his style, in all honesty. And the reason that he betrayed his... But basically, he's seen as a traitor to Tervinter by his people now. And the reason he betrayed, not Tervinter, he betrayed Alexius because of how radical he was getting with his time magic. And he just wants to be, he wants to do good. I liked Dorian, as I say, and I like the fact that he was willing to give up quite a lot, actually, to actually basically save the day. He's also cocky as hell, and I love him for that. It's just, I liked him right off the bat, and of course, there's the thing, of course, he's a male-only romance, and I will get to that in a moment. But the one thing I want to say about him is I actually see him as the 7 of 9 or Worf effect of the Dragon Age Inquisition. Dragon Age has done that with other characters as well. They've given us a character who, what we know of the society is that we hate it. That we hate the society. Sorry, Tervinter is a fucked up place. But the Worf effect or 7 and 9 effect from Star Trek is best suited to Dorian because he's an aspect of Tervinter that we've never seen. A good person. As it is, unlike the Kunari when we had Sten in Dragon Age Origins, we never really had an aspect of Tervinter that we actually liked. Fenris does not count, by the way. He was a slave, so his perspective is judged. We see Dorian as someone who actually does believe believe in some of the things that the Tervinter Imperium stands for, but he does agree that they have gone too far in which they are. He does believe that mages should be free. He does view things slightly different, and also now he doesn't agree with slavery, and that's something that he stated changed when he came to the lore, when he came to the other areas, when he says that there weren't slaves. But he makes a very valid point in one aspect of it. He says that there are actually slaves who willingly go into slavery, who basically just say do that. And he does say that most slaves are well treated, and the other ones. He does give you an aspect of Tervinter about slavery that we didn't really see before. Even though slavery is completely fucking wrong. I'm sorry. I kill every slaver I come across in all of Inquisition. I'm like, nope, you're dead. Bang. And also any other Dragon Age game. But Dorian does give a point that in Tervinter, slavery is a better alternative than starving to death. So I like how we get a perspective of Tervinter we haven't had, and that's what Dorian is, the Warframe 7-9 effect. He does give us that viewpoint of Tervinter, and that there are some good elements to the Tervinter Imperium. They're just buried under all the darkness and all that. And he also does state that blood magic, while it is used, isn't technically legal in there. And I do like that about him. I do like the fact that he's very sly, and he basically explains how things are like that. And I really liked the way he portrayed it. And he basically is trying to tell you that Tervinter isn't as bad as everyone says it is, only sometimes it is. He says that the bad unfortunately outweighs the good. And he does love his homeland. He does want to see his homeland improve. So he is a bit of an idealist in that aspect of it. I do like that. We also do learn a lot more about him as the story progresses with his loyalty mission when he confronts his father, which is a very interesting aspect. He confronts his father about his... Basically, when you confront his father, Dorian does state that his father tried to change him using blood magic, which is a very common thing, actually. In Tervinter, apparently, they will change aspects using magic, due to the fact that he preferred the company of men. Which, let's face it, in the Dragon Age world, no one really cares about your sexual orientation. No one. Like, you go fuck a guy, it doesn't matter. But that's the general feel. However, Dorian does state that in a political sense, and especially in Tervinter, who have a very strict thing of genetic breeding, which is very disturbing in my opinion, where they basically it's not genetics like we know it. They basically select people to breed with each other to try and produce the more powerful mages. That's how his father actually did, how Dorian was born, was his mother and father, genetics and all that crap, and he was born, but his sexuality was seen as a bit of a defect because his father's line wouldn't continue. His legacy, as he states, that could not continue due to the fact that Dorian would never willingly be with a woman and have a child. He does prefer the company of men. And this is really the first time that's kind of been brought up in the Dragon Age world about someone's sexual orientation and how Tervinter view it. Tervinter is portrayed as this lustful area. They lust for power. Passion is something. If you want to go shag something, you go shag something. You want to shag a guy, you shag a guy. But when it comes to your legacy, that comes first. So if you prefer the company of men, doesn't fucking matter. You're going to go sleep with a woman and you're going to give me a grandkid. It's a nice perspective to see that even in the Dragon Age world there is prejudice and judge, and that's how people connect to Dorian, I think. The fact that he does fight against it. He fights against the idea of genetic breeding. He can feel the anger in his voice when he's confronting his father, but at the same time his father's trying to reconnect to him, and you try and convince him of that. You're saying, look, give your father a chance. He's come all this way to talk to you. It's a very heartfelt thing, because we all at one point, now not all of us, I luckily enough have never experienced, my family love me for who I am, even though I do prefer the company of men and women. It's something that I think is I'm very lucky with. Not everyone's that lucky. There are people out there whose family will disown them, will try and change them, will try and do everything they can to prove that they are not, like they prefer the company of men, for example. See, there are people out there, and I can see why people may connect to Dorian like that. I connected them with that. Look, if I didn't experience that prejudice with my family. And it's very, very nice to see that. I do like that. I says, but you do say that your father's at least trying to reach out to you, and there are instances in real life where people's family have disowned them because of their sexual orientation, but years later they did eventually come around and eventually forgave themselves and said that they were in the wrong. And it's a very interesting thing to show that the father was at least trying to reach out to his son because he still loved his son, and he realized he made a mistake. And it isn't showing the bad side of it, it's showing that sometimes we make mistakes, and we have to live with them. But there is always a chance that you can redeem yourself. And that's what I think Dorian's father was trying to do. He was trying to say, look, I'm sorry. I know what I did was wrong. I'm so sorry, Dorian. I love you. You're my son. And that's something that I think is very important. It shows that a parent should have unconditional love for their child, no matter how they turn out. Unless they're absolute dicks and freeload and then you kick them on the curb. But yeah, the unconditional love is something that parents should have to give to their child. To an extent, don't get me wrong, there are certain points in which a parent's love can only go so far. But it does show that Dorian's father does have unconditional love for his son, and he doesn't want to lose his son just because of a disagreement, and he does admit that he went too far with trying to change who Dorian was. And I really like that mission. It really resonates with my heart, and I absolutely loved it. Definitely a major plus in my opinion. Definitely one of my favourite companion interactions is with Dorian in that particular aspect. And then when you talk to him afterwards, it's very heartwarming. And I like Dorian in that. And then of course, while we're there, I might as well talk about his sexuality. Dorian doesn't hide it. And why should he? He's like, yeah, I prefer the company men. And you can choose how you react to it. Very same in the lines of Krem, who is a transgender character who was born female but identifies as male, and you can choose to how you react to her. You can say, why do you think you're a he when you're a she? Or you can just be like, okay, that's fine, doesn't bother me. You might be called he, I'll call you he. And you can do the same with Dorian. You can ask him why. You can be like, your sexual orientation, I don't care what you want to fuck. I don't care. And I like that we at least get that option, even though you can question it if you want to. I personally didn't. I was like, okay, you prefer the company of men. Same thing with Krem. I was like, okay, Krem, you're a girl who wants to be identified as a male. Okay, that's fine with me. I don't care. Whatever. You fight good. I don't care. As long as you fight good, I'm okay with that. And I do like that. I really do. I like Krem's one of my favorite non-companion characters. Dorian is definitely one of my favorite companion characters. And I do like the fact that you can at least question him on his sexual orientation if you want. I don't, because my philosophy when it comes to someone's sexual orientation is if it doesn't involve me, I don't care what you do in your bedroom. Once it involves me, then we have to discuss things. I don't do ball gags. I don't do a candle wax. Well, I might do a little candle wax. It depends on the situation. I might go with a little bit of course, a little bit of role play, maybe gender swapping and all that. But you get what I'm going with. I like that. I like the fact you didn't have to question it. You could question it if you want, or you couldn't. You just be like, okay, you're gay. It doesn't. But what do I care? Like, you want to go fuck Iron Bull? Go fuck Iron Bull. I'm sure he's one hell of a ride. In fact, I can attest to that. Oh God, he's good. I also love his interactions with Iron Bull. They're always hilarious, and I do think, and I don't know if it's canon yet, but I do think they probably did end up together. Wouldn't surprise me if they did. It's just Tervinter and a Kunari ending up together just sounds so fucking awesome. Then of course we'll move on to his romance while we're on his sexual orientation. His romance is well done. It's a very interesting romance, very well played out, very heartwarming, and of course we get a nice view of his ass! And he is a fine ass. He personally isn't my choice for a canon romance. My canon romance, depending on my Inquisitor, my male Inquisitor is Cassandra, my female Kunari Inquisitor is Josephine, maybe Sarah on the side. But yeah, he's not my canon romance for my male Inquisitor, because my male Inquisitor just didn't get that romantic feeling from him. He did see him as a brother though. And that's something I did like, is even if you didn't romance him, he does give you respect that you deserve and that you earn. It just gives me a little bit. His romance though is very warm, heartfelt, and very real, which all the romances feel in my opinion. All the romances feel real. He's not like Iron Bull, who Iron Bull just like, he's like, look, I get the hints, do you want to fuck? Dorian isn't like that. He does get to know you, and he eventually does. He comes to your romance. I like his romance. It is a very hot one. Not my personal pick for canon romance, but that's mostly because it's none of my Inquisitors I think could actually do that. It could go with him. They see him as more as a brother. Maybe my Kunari one. Maybe, I'm not too sure, but I like it. I do like his romance. It's very nice done, and he is a fine ass. I won't lie. Prefer Cassandra's though, in all honesty. Sure. Oh God, she has a nice ass. But Dorian's a close second. Him and Cassandra's ass side by side. I'm like, oh, I don't know what I can choose. I want a gift for that. I'm doing it again. I want a gift for that, please. I'm a sick fuck, I know. But yeah, I like Dorian. I like him a lot. He's a very, very well written character, very well voice acted. I adore him. He's funny. He's definitely a person who, in real life, if Dorian was real, I could see him being one of my best friends. He's funny, charismatic, and awesome. The Tervinter, or what I love to call him, the good Tervinter. I love him. He's awesome. Definitely up there with one of my... I can't pick a favourite character for anyone else. I love them all. Dorian is definitely up there, though, with definitely on par with one of my favourite characters. And I never tire of talking with him about Tervinter and himself. He's awesome. His dialogue's perfect. His dialogue's awesome. And he's charming. I fell in love with him in an instant. So yeah, Dorian is awesome. That's all I gotta say on that. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you thought of Dorian. Did you like Dorian? Is there anything... What did you like about Dorian? And of course, if you disagree with me, please tell me why and what you think of Dorian. So yeah, we are nearing the end. This pile is getting smaller and smaller. So now that we're done with Dorian, I wonder who we're going to do next. It'd be kind of weird if we end up with Iron Bull after this, but I don't think we will. I'm not that lucky. Hopefully I've sorted these cards out correctly. So let's see who we're going to be doing next. Next to randomness. And we'll go with this one here. Put the cards away. It's not Varric, but it is the one, the only. Oh my. She may not be a companion. She may not be an advisor. But we're going to talk Morrigan next. Ooh. This should be saucy. I'll see you all next time. Ciao for now.